Hello, everyone. This is Tony Rasmussen. I'm doing the audio commentary for the New York Files Season 5. And first, yes, behold the amazement that we reached a fifth season. I was surprised myself. And I guess I should say the funny thing about the fifth season is the fact that it literally ran, I think, a week and a half after we wrapped up Season 4. I know that was just like the strangest thing ever. So this is the first episode, Odyssey Day, aka the 250 game special. So why did this all come about? Well, we were at this point starting to catalog all of the games in the collection, and we came to the astonishing discovery that, well, the next one we're going to pick up is going to be game number 250. So we knew, okay, that's going to have to be, celebrated in one way, shape, or form. And this, by the way, this whole intro we did took, I want to say, about an hour and 3 takes to get right. And maybe a couple extra minutes to an hour, an extra hour or two, just to get the whole thing edited down. And I did love this part coming up here. Where is it? Here we go. With the Mario Smith factory on top. So we realized, okay, that milestone was coming up. We're gonna do anything to celebrate. Well, of course we are, because the next game we planned on picking up was Mario Odyssey. And of course, since we ordered it, we felt, well, maybe it'll be appropriate to shoot a special video around it, talk about it, and that's kind of what we ended up doing. How it came to be a New York Files episode was really because of another factor of it that we never thought about, which was the amiibos. And we spent, in this episode, looking for the Peach amiibo, and all we came across was the Mario one. So the Peach one I don't think we solved for another 2 episodes after this. And unfortunately that was an event that we didn't capture on film, but was an off-camera event that we ended up having to capture the aftermath of. So, just move my chair here. So this episode essentially came out of perfect planning. Perfect planning and just sheer coincidence. And yeah, that was the only amiibo at GameStop for Mario Odyssey. There was no Peach. I think it was just the Mario. And I was surprised as hell. So, and we shot this at the parking lot of Target in Latham. And I do love how the lighting appears with Mario Odyssey. I believe in the title card, the thumbnail we used for the video, we used a snapshot of that image of Mario Odyssey in the light, just to like show how divine and holy it is, the 250th game.
There's always a part of me that just wishes
it's astounding because now we're reaching close to the 265th. Yeah, since this episode we've gotten an additional 14 games. And let me tell you, that's been astonishing at every step of the way. Whenever we get something new and we have to document it and put it in. We are working on a new episode, hopefully for later this February, sometime in March, where we'll document 265 and possibly 266. How far will the collection go? I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. I would love to get up to 300, but at the same time, eventually I will have to understand that either the collection is going to have to get downsized, or I'm going to just have to get rid of the whole thing. But I don't plan on doing that anytime soon. And that wraps up episode 1 of the season. And now we move on to episode 2, Ho Ho Holidays. And I guess I should talk about this one a lot because the funny thing is, this episode essentially came out of just some backstock footage that we had, some leftover footage from the summer and the fall, and we realized, oh, we could shoot, edit this around, make a video out of it, and that's what we did. We, in some ways, never intended this episode to go out in early November, and we were expecting it to come out in late November, early December, but I think we realized there's no point anymore, and we just decided to release the episode in early November. I guess what I should say about season 5 overall is this is probably one of the rare times we ever had a season in which there was probably a new episode almost every freaking week. We never had that happen before. Well, I mean, we've had it happen before, but like never to that much consistency. Where we had not only a backlog of all these, clips, but also, new stuff being filmed as well. And I guess that gets me to the point of what's been going on now, which is we've been kind of taking some hiatus breaks, taking some time off to really prepare ourselves because we have some big announcements coming for 2018. And then on top of that, a lot of stuff going on personally. So, but this point, 2017, was kind of near the end of what I like to call the idle period of TVC Studios, where we could literally just get everything done. As you know now, we're just having a hard time getting everything done. And here it is, my horrible Carlos Rocky impersonation of Rocco. And the funny thing is in my head, I feel like I almost hit it spot on, but I know deep down I'm wrong. I'm just so wrong. Getting the inflections down. But yeah, this episode we had shot maybe back in September, October, right around there, and it got held over. We decided not to release it as part of the 4th season. I don't remember why. I think it may have had something to do with the count. Like, we had just maybe around that time wrapped up the leftover special, shooting wise, or we were just starting on it, kind of in that weird period. And I have no idea why we did not release this in season 4. Those were probably my two best guesses. Was either we didn't want to mess with the episode count and do 11 episodes that season, or it just kind of came at the time when we were wrapping up something and getting ready to start on something else, and we just didn't want to have this interfere with that. But it is funny to look back at some of these episodes and just how tightly packed they are. Just with how much stuff there is, and then on top of that, how many stories we could handle. But I think it's something I mentioned in the season 4 commentary, which was the time limits. And I think I said in that commentary that we tried this season to bump the minimum time to 6 minutes. Anywhere from 5 to 6 minutes. And there are episodes in which it is really hard to get it to that time. And, well, that is that episode, but it's hard to get it to that time. And then there are other times where we go way over the 6 minute marker and we're in like 7-8 minutes and beyond. And now we're into the 3rd episode of the season, which I believe is Returning of Peach to Receive the Universe, or as the alternate title is known file-wise, Returning Peach 123. Why is it that title? I actually have no clue. I think I was thinking of a movie, and I can't even remember the name of the movie. It was something 1 2 3, or God, it was some John Travolta movie, and I can't remember it. But this episode, in general, just kind of came out of circumstances. For starters, we had gotten 2 Peach Amiibos, one through the website, the GameStop website, and the other one at one of the GameStops. Two, when we shot this episode, I had just gotten through a dental exam, so we were just getting ready to go home, and I had to pick up a few things. And I figured I would get this stuff done as well. And it's, yeah. And then 3, we did want to pick up the Steven Universe book. That was one of those items that we had been eyeing since the start of the 4th season. Why we never got it back in those episodes was really cost. That book was $30. It was a lot of money for a book. But here's the more interesting thing is I'm actually not sure which version of the book that is. Now let me clarify. Supposedly there are 2 versions of this book. There was the original version with the original release, and then there was an updated version because they had to remove a piece of artwork. Now, what piece was it? Supposedly it was something racially insensitive. I can't really recall much of the story, but supposedly it was a piece of artwork that was, I don't remember if it was deemed racially insensitive, but they had to do a reprint and a re-release of the book, omitting the image from one of the pages. I don't know if we have the original release or the updated release of the book. Actually, I've only glanced through the book once, and I haven't actually, but it is a good book, actually, if you do read it. If you do end up coming across it, it is a really good book. I do recommend picking it up. If you are a big Steven Universe fan like I am, in which, by the way, my favorite character in the thumbnail is sitting on my shoulder. Yeah, Peridot's one of my favorite characters on Steven Universe. But anyway, so this Pokemon story. Yeah, it was funny. I thought at first it was just a couple of cards that were just sitting there on the shelf, like, oh, maybe a kid opened up a packet by accident, someone discovered it, and, turned it in, didn't think about the cards that were sitting on the floor. And then I came to discover it was a whole freaking pack, like a giant box set of Pokemon cards that were just sitting there. And so where are those cards now? Well, a couple of them are with Noah, and I have the rest of them somewhere. I believe they're in a basket somewhere in my room. Not that I lost them, I just I haven't come across them since the holiday season. But I do know one thing, and that was I had 2 Lugia EXs. I gave one to a friend of mine, who was also a huge Pokemon fan, and at the time of this recording, this is, I believe today is sadly her last day working with us. So, good luck to her and whatever her endeavors. And the other one went to my little brother, Noah. He stole it from me and never heard about it again. But that ends that episode. So, here we go into the next one, and I believe this is Walt Disney's Holiday Bonuses and Something Free, which came out at the end of November and the start of December. Yep, because it's one of the rare times we did a unique intro, and the only reason we did it here was because, well, it's Disney, why not? And the only thing I regret is that the arch wasn't fully completed because, well, we of course took it from a different Blender file. And here's an example of essentially what should have been 2 episodes got split. What should have been split into 2 episodes was combined into 1. Because this consists of 2 clips. We have the clip from, I believe, the end of Black Friday, or was it the end of Black Friday or the end of Christmas Eve? And then we have the other clip, which is the end of November. I don't remember when we shot these. I think one was after Black Friday and one was right around the end of November. So it could be possible that these episodes were shot almost back to back. But anyway, so yeah, this episode is essentially an episode that could have been 2 episodes, but we bunched it together to make it one. Why? Well, because we figured why not. It would have been so easy again to just split these into 2 and do 2 additional episodes, but we decided to combine them together, and it personally stands as maybe in my top 5 favorite episodes of the series overall. For everything up to this season, it's probably in my top 5 favorite episodes. And it's funny too, because in this episode I talked about the and that pink Yoshi I was gonna give to Noah. I did not. Why? I don't know. Something about it, I just could not get rid of it. Maybe it was because I would have to find something equally as good to replace it in the amiibo count, but I just never did. But anyway, so back to what I was saying. God, what was it? I was talking about why this wasn't split. I just cannot figure out why I did not split this. And the funny thing is I go on a small tirade here about the Disney Store, mainly because it was funny. The new DuckTales had come out, and they still had nothing for DuckTales. And the funny thing was, like, Funko was making not only Pops, but they were making I wanted to say actual figurines, and Disney did not get any of them. I mean, the Disney Store sells the Pops, but they don't have any of the figurines. I thought that was strange. But the only thing I could find that was closely DuckTales related, and I would have gotten regardless, was the Mickey's Christmas Carol figure set. And the only reason I got that was because that was technically, again, the only DuckTales type related merchandise. That was the only merchandise with Scrooge McDuck in it. And as I say here, it was kind of ridiculous, because there is a new DuckTales show, but Disney has not released anything for DuckTales yet. I mean, at least, some plushes or a couple of figurines would help something. But I was still happy to get this. Because it is a nice set, and Mickey's Christmas Carol is one of my favorite holiday specials to watch. I try to watch it at least twice every year. But I had a hard time getting the camera to get in there. Yep, there it is, right in that corner. Yep, right there. And that is the only thing with Scrooge McDuck on it at the Disney Store. With Scrooge being such a classic Disney character, that's the only thing you could find. And I got the thing for $7, relatively cheap. It was kind of funny. Was never expecting to get it that cheap. They were like, oh, we're having a sale tonight on all the figurine sets. And I'm like, okay. And I got it, and then I got the Mickey pin to go with it. And actually, I got that because when you buy these pins, I guess you give a donation to the Boys and Girls Club of America. And I was like, okay, yeah, that's cool. And, don't mind giving away and donating. So... And now, here we are. This is the stuff that came at the end of November. And I guess the one thing I should say is it is raining outside in the end of November. How is that possible? I have no clue. It is New York. New York's weather makes no effing sense sometimes. But, anyway. There it is. Breath of the Wild Explorers Edition. And... I remember I was told that we were getting a special edition Zelda. I'm like, no, really? We are? And I could not help myself. I just had to get it. But now the funny thing is I got two versions of Breath of the Wild. I got one for the Wii U and one for the Switch. And it's so satisfyingly interesting to have two versions of that. And then here I did my worst Kyle Hubert impersonation of the Dragon Ball Z announcer, but Dragon Ball Z is a good show. Is it my favorite? Not necessarily. I still place the original Dragon Ball above this, mainly because I don't know, I like the characters in the original Dragon Ball just a smidge more. And I don't know if I actually ever gone through this, but the original Dragon Ball had an interesting character that's not in Dragon Ball Z. I believe she's only in one episode. But there was a character called Launch. I don't remember if I actually talked about her or not at any point during this or mini reviews, but Launch was a character that was in the original Dragon Ball, and she every time she sneezed, she would change personalities. So she could be nice and caring and loving, and then when she sneezes, she's hard, cold, manipulative, and kind of an asshole. And that's what I like about it, is that it's that interesting twist. Instead of just getting smacked on the head or something like that, or a secret word, it's just her sneezing. It's hilarious, but it's interesting as well. And I believe in Dragon Ball Z, she only makes an appearance in one episode, and I believe that's near the end of the series. So, yeah. But other than that, yeah, those are the only two things I got from there. So that probably wouldn't have been enough to make an episode. So I guess it was appropriate to mix those clips up. So that ends that episode. And now we move into the season finale. And it's so weird that we literally shot the season finale almost a month ago, 2 months ago. And here we are talking about it, and we just wrapped up production on the first episode of season 6, which is the continuation of this. But this is Day of Surprises, and it's funny, there are two versions of this online. There's the one version with the altered music, which is the one we're listening to, and there's a version with the original music. And Facebook has the original music version, and the altered music's in the YouTube version. So, but this episode literally came about because I was looking for Waking Sleeping Beauty and the Rocco Funko Pop. Now, the story behind the Rocco Funko Pop is I spent maybe a week or two before this still looking for it. And every place I went to, they told me that, oh, the release date has been changed, or, oh, we didn't get a shipment in. And I can understand not getting a shipment in, or having the shipment, be in limbo, because, it's the mail. Mail will always do something like that. Something ridiculous. But here's the thing I could not get my, my idle hands across. Or just my thought. I don't know. I'm trying to look for the phrase, and I can't think of it. But I just could not get across the thought that that literally within like an hour, you could have all your copies of this figurine sold out, all your stock. And it was funny because every place I went to, they were like, "Yeah, we had some. People came in and bought them. They're gone." Like, I'm thinking to myself, it's funny because every time I bring up the show to people, they at first have to think about what the hell I'm talking about. For Halloween this year, I dressed up as a human version of Rocco, and it was so interesting how many people just didn't get it, and I had to explain it to them. And it's so hard to explain it because you're like, oh, I don't know how to explain it to these people. How do you explain a 90s animated series? How do you explain something that came on Nickelodeon back in 1993? It's like, you can't really explain it, especially to older people. Grandmas, grandpas, great-grandmas, great-grandpas, it's one of those hard things you just can't explain. So, yeah, and that just kind of surprised me. But what surprised me even more is the fact that this episode, we still ended up getting things. It was just things we weren't expecting. and I think I'll say it flat out. I think J Street might be one of my favorite gaming stores to ever go to. The workers there are really, really nice. They always got a good selection whenever I show up, and it's stuff that I just can't pick up or stuff that I just come across by surprise that they're willing to cut a deal on. Mega Man 8, they gave it to me for $20 because they didn't even know they had it. They had it priced and everything, but they didn't even know it was Mega Man 8. They thought it was like X3 or X4. And when I told them, no, it's just Mega Man 8, they're like, really? We didn't even know we had Mega Man 8 there. And that's at one end. And then, you go to the other J Street over in Crossgates, and they got stuff like this. They got comics out and, figurines and all that. And stuff in the cases. And the stuff in the cases in Colony is good, but the stuff in the cases in Crossgates is just incredible what they could have. They have, Neo Geo Pockets and, Wonder Swans, and it's just like, wow. And I got that issue of The Simpsons because it's one giant DuckTales tribute. No joke. It is one giant DuckTales homage. And it's lovely. And then I got that. And the funny thing is, that just kind of came across as a surprise. I just asked if they had any imports, if they ever did get any. And then they were like, yeah, we had some imports that came into the other store, and, we could, put one on the side for you. And I'm like, yeah, sure, cool. They're like, well, we got, Super Mario 64, Mario Kart, Smash. And then they had to retract themselves. They're like, yeah, we actually don't have Smash. We apologize. I'm like, okay, yeah, Mario Kart. I'll take Mario Kart. Be interesting to have in the collection. And that became game 264. So it is in. No, it didn't become 264. It became 263. Yeah, 263. So it was. It's just interesting what you come across at places like that. And I guess that should segue to my next segment. Between this episode and the season 6 premiere, I went to New York City with family, of course, and that's why I didn't do anything special for it. But I got Chrono Trigger for the Super Nintendo, and that only cost me $20. I got it for the Super Famicom. It was just great, and I think the place is called Video Games New York, and it's a really great store. If you ever are in the Brooklyn area, go visit it. It's a great place. They got a lot of imports of Japanese amiibos, imports of Japanese games, rare collectible items. They had framed drawing from Shigeru Miyamoto signed. It was just so interesting to find all that stuff there. And it was so interesting to find all this stuff at J Street because, again, it's stuff you would never find. The one in Colony, they have a bunch of mangas that literally sit on a wall, and I just look through them and I go, wow, I would really love to pick some of these up. I would say Colony is great at finding mangas, where Crossgates is great at finding, movies or TV shows or whatever. And the only reason it's great to find mangas at Colony is because not only is there J Street, but there's Barnes & Noble. And with Crossgates with the movies, you got FYE and Best Buy, and you got CEX. But I don't know. I'm dribbling on here, but I gotta wrap this up. This is Tony. I'm signing out. Thank you, everyone, for dealing with all these commentaries. There will be some new content coming soon. This is Tony. I am signing out. I will see you all next time.